Welcome back to Algebra 2 class. We're still dealing with quadratic equations, and today we're talking about solving incomplete quadratic equations, and this is on page 220 if you're actually in my class. So I believe I assigned you like 2 through 22 even or something like that, and I got 4 examples here for you. There's not a whole lot of notes in this section on your book. Basically, an incomplete quadratic equation is missing that middle term, that regular x, not the squared x, but a quadratic equation is supposed to have ax squared plus bx plus c, okay? But this is going to be missing, okay? You're not going to have a regular letter, regular x in here. And if you do, like if you see a regular y here and a regular x here, that means they're going to cancel out. So how do we solve them if we don't have those? Well, you want to get your square term by itself. So on number 1 here, I need to move this -4 over by adding it to both sides. I get 2r squared equals 8, okay? Then it's still not by itself because it's getting multiplied by 2, so I divide both sides by 2, and I get r squared equals 4, and then we're going to take the square root of both sides, and r will equal plus or minus 2. The square root of 4 is 2, but it could be -2 or +2, because -2 times -2 makes 4, and +2 times +2 makes 4. So you must put your plus and minus in all the answers, and that's it, okay? That's basic one. Obviously, they're not going to give you that easy all the way through here. So on problem number 6, it had a fraction, so I figured I'd throw that one in there. P squared is over here by itself, but I need to divide by 4, okay? Which is going to leave me P squared. But you can't divide a fraction by a fraction. You flip it and multiply, so it would really be multiplying by 4 over 1, which would be 4 over 16, or cross cancel those out, and we would get 1/4, okay? Now we got to take the square root of both sides, and the square root of p squared will be p. We're going to have a plus or minus. Now the square root of 1/4 is going to be 1/8, I think. I gotta check. Yeah, it's going to be 1/8. And you have a plus and a minus there, okay? So just do that in your calculator. Don't let the fractions mess you up. If you have a calculator, you can put all this in there. It's not a big deal. If we move on to problem number 11. 18's last. I'm going to do 11 and then move it out of the way. So problem number 11 is a little bit more complex. There's no squared term. They have a binomial that they want you to square here, which means you have to FOIL. Okay, you have to break that into x plus 5 times x plus 5, or know that it's a perfect square trinomial, in fact, multiply it that way. But x times x gives me x squared, x times 5 gives me 5x, 5 times x gives me 5x, and 5 times 5 gives me 25. So if I simplify that, that'll be x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 10x plus 41. Alright, so now I'm going to move this 10x over, and you'll see that they cancel out because all of these that we're working with doesn't have that term. So then I have x squared plus 25 equals 41. I'm going to subtract 25, and I get x squared equals 16. We're going to take the roots, and the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 16 is 4, plus or minus 4, okay? So That's all stuff that you should already know how to FOIL and to combine like terms and things like that. So the last one we're going to do is number 18. And I'm going to clear this off and use this space to do 18. It's about the same amount of work, so but I'm trying to write big enough to where you can see it. So I'm going to move 11 out of the way. Make a big ugly mess here. Try to get this dry. Alright, hopefully it's dry enough. Alright, on 18, this one has a couple different multiplications that we need to do first. They just throw in pretty much everything that you've already learned. So again, this is one of those perfect square trinomials, so I know it's going to be y squared. The last term will be 9 because 3 squared is that, and in the middle is going to be double this number, so negative 6x. If you can remember that. If not, just FOIL it out. Plus 10y, and then on this you got y times 4, which would be 4y, and y times 2y, which would be 2y squared. Okay, so now we got to combine, and I put an x here, this is a y. That would really mess you up. Alright, so now I have negative 6y and 10y on that side, which is going to give me 4y. So I have y squared plus 4y plus 9 equals 4y plus 2y squared. And yes, I'm baby stepping these instead of combining them all at once just to show you. Okay, I'm going to move this 4y over. And you see they're going to cancel on both sides because we are working with incomplete ones that shouldn't have that. So if yours don't cancel, you did some kind of mathematical error and you need to go back and check it out. So now I have y squared plus 9 equals 2y squared. Well, since I have a 2 on this side, I'm going to move this one over. That way my y squared stays positive. If I move it over here, it's negative. Then I got to divide by negative. So it's just easier to move it to this side. And I'm going to get 9 equals y squared. We're going to take the square root of both of those. And the square root of that one is 3. But remember, it's a plus or minus 3. And the square root of this is y. So that's the answer. You will get some that have to stay in radical if there is no perfect square root. For instance, on this one side, if you had a 15, well, it's going to stay in the radical because 15 doesn't have a perfect square and it can't be broken down. And that's okay to just put plus or minus 15. Okay? Have a good rest of your day, and God bless.